So let's be real here. A lot of people did not like this DC cinematic universe. A lot of folks didn't like it. Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad got a lot of criticism, and I understand why. So this movie, Wonder Woman, was supposed to be, or at least many experts felt that it needed to be, the movie to save this entire movie franchise. This is the movie that needed to be not good, not a good movie, a great movie, in order to get people interested into the DC movies one more time. Wonder Woman was a very ambitious project and now a history-making project. This is the first big budget comic book movie in history that not only has a female lead, but also a female director. But the question is, was it a good movie? Welcome to my Wonder Woman review, and I just want to start out this review by saying, if you were turned off by Man of Steel, by Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, even if you saw the extended cut, which was better, and you still didn't like it, even if you were kind of let down by Suicide Squad, this is the movie that you legitimately need to see. Did this movie redeem the DC universe? Well, if you thought that it was in the toilet, yes, it did. This is the best DC cinematic or DC extended universe movie ever made so far. This movie was so well acted. Gal Gadot, people were so critical of her because they didn't think she could nail being the centerpiece of a movie. She nailed it. Chris Pine, amazing. Robin Wright, Danny Huston, Connie Nielsen, so many people in this film. This was a masterwork of a movie, and really a movie that, even if you don't like the DC movies, even if you're not even a fan of Wonder Woman, you need to see this movie because you need to see how a origin story slash superhero reboot slash, I guess, just superhero movie is done with love, with passion, with respect, and with what I think is the most important thing, a great freaking story. This movie was, like, it made me feel, I was going to compare it to Batman Begins, but I think it's actually, I might like this movie a little bit better than Batman Begins, and that's a great movie. I would say this movie, and honestly, you can tell the influence. You know that director Patty Jenkins was influenced by the original Richard Donner Superman film. This movie is very much like that movie, and the original Donner Superman is considered a masterpiece. I mean, some say it's the best comic book film of all time. I don't know how this film's going to be looked at in a few years, but this was, I mean, I like this movie better than Guardians 2. I liked it a little bit better than Logan, even though Logan really hit me emotionally. This movie was just what DC needed. This is the much needed kick in the ass to this DC universe. Now, couple of things I'm sure a lot of you guys are wondering, like, what makes this movie so much better than Batman v Superman? Like, what is it? Well, first of all, the storyline is fantastic. I thought it was a great, fish out of water story, and that's kind of part of what, again, goes into my next point. Great fish out of water story, but also it felt fun. This movie felt fun and didn't really get, grim and dark and serious until the very last act. The second act of this movie, and really a lot of the first act, is just a fun fish out of water story, and it had that fish out of water humor that I think works, and the best part about it is that Gal Gadot and Chris Pine's charisma is what really carried it, because the fish out of water stuff can kind of get played out sometimes, and I think that Guardians 2, even though I had fun watching it, was just joke after joke after joke. This movie, though, knows how to time its jokes right to where it hits, and it hits good, and Gal Gadot did a great job. Now, this is the non-spoiler review for this film. I'm not going to go into spoilers. However, if you want to check out my spoiler review for this movie where I go even more in depth, you gotta head over to World of Geekdom, my second channel, my movie channel. I'm gonna leave a link down below. Check out the spoiler review for the film on that channel. I'll leave a link to it so you guys can go over there and talk about it. We'll have a discussion about what you thought, but non-spoiler, okay? Let's keep going. Another concern I saw a lot of people talking about before the movie came out is, was Wonder Woman, or they're wondering, is Wonder Woman gonna be another one of those pro-girl, anti-men, SJW, agenda movies where the whole movie hammers home that women are better than men? No, this movie was not like that. I know a lot of people who were very critical of the Ghostbusters film from last year and how men were portrayed in that film to kind of be, dumb or psychotic and things like that. this movie was so incredibly crafted by Patty Jenkins and really also by Alan Heinberg, the writer, in that it wasn't not in any way lenient or leaning towards any kind of gender. Yes, the main character is a woman. Guess what? One of the main villains is also a woman. Chris Pine's character, Steve Trevor, was a man. He was never condescending towards Diana. He never ever treated her like, you know, she was beneath him or she was a girl. None of that in the movie, and vice versa. So if you're one of those people out there who's worried this is going to be SJW propaganda or even something that is insulting towards women, no, that's not the case at all. In fact, what really surprised me, because I was waiting for it. I went into this movie waiting for some kind of, you know, and that's sad that I had to do that, but I was wondering if they were going to go in that direction. I'm looking for it, and they never ever went in that direction whatsoever. Even when, you know, Diana is fighting against, you know, men, because there's a lot of scenes in this movie where she's fighting men, you never get the sense of, you know, I am woman, hear me roar, even though it is I am woman, hear me roar. It's because she is the Wonder Woman and she can do that. You know, she can do these incredible feats of strength that mortals cannot do. So it doesn't matter if it's a male or a female, it's essentially a demigod, right? A meta-human, so to speak. So it doesn't matter what gender they are. She kicked a lot of ass. And you never got the sense of like a villain even remotely saying, ha ha ha, you're a girl, you can't beat me. None of that was in this film. None of it. And I really like that because I feel like it was the same thing with the past two Star Wars movies. Whether you like them or not, you never got the sense of Rey being, you know, just a girl. Even though they did refer to her as the girl in Star Wars Force Awakens, you never got the sense she was just a girl. In fact, Kylo Ren tells Supreme Leader Snoke she's strong in the Force but untrained. So it's one of those things where you never got that sexist kind of, like I said, that anti-girl kind of feel. Same thing with the anti-men feel. This movie is an even playing field. It doesn't matter if the main character is male or female. This is the story of a character who evolved into a superhero because of, like a lot of DC characters, she is an allegory for hope. She's an allegory for what is good in mankind, regardless of gender. And the movie did not push that. There were parts in the movie where you could kind of sense that, I guess they were trying to say that men were bloodthirsty for war and things like that. But the whole thing was, it was more so mankind, not men as in males. It was actually more so just mortals, but they didn't really use that word. It wasn't, you know, anti-men propaganda. But Gal Gadot's character, Wonder Woman herself, she never ever thinks that men or males are evil. And I thought that was refreshing because I know a lot, I mean, I was hoping it wouldn't be, but I know a lot of people were hitting me up saying, man, I hope it's not going to be like that. It's not like that whatsoever. The movie looks great. The performances were amazing. And one thing I did love about Patty Jenkins directing, and by the way, she actually consulted with the original Wonder Woman, Linda Carter, or so we found out recently. So that was refreshing to hear that she had so much respect for the character that she was willing to do that, is that she, in the movie, there is an origin story. Like, you see a little bit of an origin story. You see this character who is a meta-human, but she's also flawed. She lacks confidence in herself sometimes. She's confused sometimes, like many of us regular human beings are. And she has to overcome her confusion. And at one point in the movie, her feeling of betrayal and anger to do the right thing. And that, to me, I thought was just a great, great, great theme of this film. So, like I was saying, there's an origin story in the movie, but it doesn't take up a lot of the movie. One thing I was worried about with a lot of these, you know, origin movies is that you've got this origin story that takes up like 2/3 of the film, and then, you know, they're still trying to discover themselves and all that. That wasn't the case here. They really sped through the origin in the first act. It really is contained in the first act up until Steve Trevor ends up on the island. That's when the movie actually officially, you know, goes to the next stage. It actually masterfully did the 3-act structure. You know, you have location A, location B, and then location C for the finale. It's a very traditionally directed film. Very traditionally directed, very, you know, old school directed, but in a good way. Like, this is what I think comic book movies kind of need to go back to, is rather than trying to always kind of do the same thing over and over again, this movie I felt was refreshing. You actually had a villain that was, it wasn't as developed as I had hoped. There's still problems with villains in these films, both DC and Marvel, that I think need to be rectified. but it was still a villain that had a backstory, and you understood the backstory. And honestly, it wasn't perfect, but it was still well done and better than expected. But it was not perfect, and I'll get to that in my spoiler review when we talk about it. Also, one thing I should point out about this movie too is that even though Diana, Wonder Woman, there's a lot of great action scenes with her. She kicks all kinds of ass throughout this movie, and it's awesome. One thing about movies lately that have been kind of getting on my nerves, and it's something we see over and over and over and over and over again with action movies, is the constant slowing down during the fights. Like, you know, when they have the slow motion, that like, every movie does it now. Ever since Michael Bay's Transformers, this has been like a thing, right? Turtles movies did it, comic book movies do it, this movie did it, Fast and the Furious did it, and it's like, I understand using slow motion to tell, like, to showcase a more impactful blow and things like that. I think it's getting played out. I'm tired of movies doing that, and this movie did it, I think, way too much. And to me, that's my only real criticism of the movie, is that. Like, that's the one thing that was kind of like, come on, enough with the slow motion. But everything else, I think, felt pretty good. You know, there's not much to hate about this movie. Little nitpicks here and there that I'll get to in the spoiler review, but you need to go see this movie, even if you don't like Wonder Woman, even if you don't like DC or the DC movies. You're going to have a blast watching it. It's fun. And the thing that these movies have been missing is the element of fun. Suicide Squad had a lot of fun characters, I thought, but I think it was still missing something. I think it was missing a real story and was a bit disjointed and tried to do way too much. This movie focuses on one or two characters and their journey through life and the decisions they make. So take away the comic book factor. This is a well-made, well-structured, very good movie. Go see it. Check out my spoiler review if you already have seen it, and we can talk about it over there on World of Geekdom. I'll leave a link down below, and subscribe to that channel for more movie reviews. Thank you so very much for checking out my review of Wonder Woman. Let me know your thoughts down below. No spoilers, of course, down below. Other channel, we'll talk about it, and I'll talk to you guys later.